Gopal, now I'm going to ask you a few questions on cricket in the early days. When I say early days, I'm thinking of the 30s and the 40s in comparison with the 70s and the 80s. Before I ask you that, I myself would concede that comparisons in cricket is a very dangerous thing. Conditions and everything are so different in these 30 years that to compare a performance of 1940 and compare another person's statistics or comparison of 80 is very different. But still, I would like to ask you a few questions on particular things on these two gaps, say a gap of about 30 to 40 years of cricket. Now, what would you say generally playing conditions, a comparison between, say, the 30s or 35, 40 to now? When I say playing conditions, I'm talking of generally from a player's point of view.
I can tell you this, the olden days cricketers, 30s and 40s, very bold attack. Most of them, they were amateurs. They always play the game and for the sake of the team. The approach, there's a lot of difference between the present approach to the game than the previous years. Very bold enough to step out and play. I don't find anyone hitting in front of the wickets except a few of present cricketers. Nowadays they play for safety. And those days the bowling was so great. I can't tell you that, I'm not telling that the present bowlers are not so good. They are really very good. The technique and that thing, a lot of changes now at the moment. Those days we'll never have such a close fielding. We had the top-class bowlers that can easily knock off the wickets, then depending on catches. The bowlers, they had a good direction and length. The same way the batsmen also had the capacity of facing the fast bowlers. They used to face the swing bowling. Then every state of the foreign teams have got swing bowlers. Automatically our players also get used to it. Nowadays, we don't have so many top-class swing bowlers. If at all we have got, but they don't attack the wicket, they don't attack properly. Most of the time the balls will go to on the leg side or offside, wasting the new ball. The olden days, the new balls will be made use by the fast bowlers. The early stage they used to get quick wickets. Then afterwards the spinners will come in and do the rest. Dull cricket nowadays than the previous one, more attractive, more entertaining. But now the entertainment has come by playing the one-day game. Now the people like the one-day game than 5 days game.
I think what you're basically saying is that the bowlers as well as the batsmen, the bowlers bowled to attack and get a wicket,
yes,
and the batsmen batted to hit the ball.
Yes.
Which means it was aggressive, positive cricket.
Yes.
Whereas what you're saying is today it's somewhat negative, somewhat defensive. Am I right in understanding it that way?
Correct. But I'm not telling fully that every ball is being attacked. They force the ball. But the particular ball, the ball which are to be punished, they always punish. But now even off-volleys, they get it, they don't do it. They are defensive, most probably they want to play a safe game.
And tell me, what about wickets? I mean, so much in cricket depends on good wickets, bad wickets, fast wickets, turning wickets, slow wickets, and so on. How would you compare the wickets of today with the wickets those days? One can't help but feel with modern technology and all that, you can prepare a wicket, and perhaps we do prepare wickets that are not very exciting. How are wickets in the 30s, and how would you compare them with the wickets that our present-day cricketers are playing?
The 30s used to be a very good cricket, very sporting, giving a chance for the bowlers as well as batsmen. Those who bat first, they will have better chances of scoring more. And those who bat afterwards, they might find it difficult because after the second day or third day, the ball used to turn. Nowadays the pitches, even the first day itself starts turning. Those days the pitches will be very hot. They will have beautiful grass on top of it.
Yes.
The pace bowlers will have more chances to bowl well on the wicket like that.
What you're saying is on a turf wicket there was grass.
Yes.
Which unfortunately nowadays is all shaved off. and it's a brown patch.
But one thing I don't agree by shaving completely. I mean, you were one of the selectors, then chairman of the selection committee also. I mean, I don't know what most of the people they used to say, keep the turf, not even we mustn't see even a single blade not to be visible there. But we must, as long as you got the fast bowlers, we must think for a moment. Any touring side comes into India, and they must be having a spinners also, as they have it in foreign lands. And if you are going to prepare a wicket which will suit us more than the other, I mean foreign teams, and foreign teams have got a top-class spinner, they'll also make use of it. And keeping the turf in a good condition, having a more grass, is much more good to maintain the standard of cricket than having a barren ground.
Yeah, I think I'm fully with you on this.
But barren ground may not last for a long time. And having a barren ground, I mean, no use finding fault with the people, those who prepare the pitch. We keep the grass on top of the turf. What happens when you bowl? The grass acts as a cushion. And then when you bowl, the ball skids on the grass and then goes out. And it doesn't have direct contact to the ball, the earth and the ball. And if you are going to have a barren ground, the possibility of the shining the ball also getting worn out quickly. Then in the olden days, we can easily maintain the ball swinging for a long time. That's why my advice is to keep the turf with the grass, good grass.
You feel it helps the game, it helps everybody, and it helps better, more attractive cricket being played.
Suppose the pitch gets brittle, it's no good finding fault with the state association which conducts the tournament or test matches, or the man who prepares the pitch. He does it as per the instructions given by. Therefore, it's no good finding fault individually.
Gopal, what about fast bowling? I mean, what do you really think? Today you have all the fast bowlers, the West Indians, and terrific bowling. Do you think today, taking the world's top bowling, are they faster today than they were fast bowlers in your time?
Yes, we are having fast bowlers nowadays too. We had, except Nisa, we didn't have so fast as we have got now. Even the foreign teams as well as Indian side. We had one or two then. Barring Nisa, we had that Shruti Banerjee from Calcutta, used to bowl medium fast. And we are all supposed to be medium fast, myself and Bakachalani and some other people. Therefore, present fast bowlers, they are very good.
And coming to this rather awkward question, using of helmets. What do you think of people using helmets? Quite often when batsmen go into bat these days, one wonders whether they're going into bat in a game of cricket or they're going into battle to fight somebody in a war or something. What are your feelings about batsmen walking with helmets down?
A batsman going in for batting with the helmet on, I'm certain they won't have so much free movements or watching the ball as they do it without helmet. Most probably the helmet's meant for saving one man's life. The olden days, even though we had very fast bowlers, I have not seen one ball hitting the batsman's head or shoulder or anything. A ball is bowled in a good length and direction. The ball will never go more than the chest height. Unless you pitch a very short one, you're bound to hit anywhere, particularly the head. For that purpose, it has become, for every over, you can find one or two bouncers. To safeguard one man's life, they wear it. And unless you restrict that kind of bouncers, everyone will have the fear to going in without the helmet. Till now, easy a movement when you are going there to bat. That is my contention.
And Gopal, how would you compare general physical fitness of players? And now you do find quite often, quite regularly, players going off with various kinds of injuries and so on. How was it in your days? I mean, people seem to be a lot more fitter, or one doesn't come across too much of people staying in and so on. How would you compare general physical fitness of players these days with your days?
The physical fitness is very important in any game. We used to be very fit to play a game. If you find not fit enough to take part, we'll say you won't be able to do that. Physical fitness comes from the younger days. Unless if you are a disciplined man to have regular habits and have regular exercises, you can't maintain your health. If a man finds a place in an all-India team, he must be very fit. Unless he is very fit, he can't find it. Therefore, you must have a regular exercise and good food. Those days, we used to have a nice food which will build up our body very nicely. We used to have a lot of stamina and a good habits and a regular exercise. Unless a man is not fit enough, you won't find a time. Place in any team.
And what about publicity? What the papers write. Of course, now you do find many columns describing various matches. How was generally press and publicity in your days when they described a performance or described a match and so on? Do you find that has increased a lot, or how do you find this?
Press remarks sometimes used to be a little harm to the individuals. Sometimes the papers will say about the individual's bad game very bluntly. As far as I'm concerned, I must thank a Hindu. They have given me very good publicity. But for their publicity, not only Hindu, Indian Express and the English papers, they have given me very good publicity. And the same publicity is going to be other way about. There's a possibility of any cricketer or any sportsman, their venture may be disturbed. They may do good, also they may bad. You see, a man goes into a field with a feeling that he has been doing very badly by seeing the paper, and that thing will always be in his mind before he comes out with a good no. Therefore, sometimes does harm a man's capability.
And Gopal, finally, what concerns many of us who wonder is about the general slowing down of the game now. As you know, quite often now in Test cricket, people fielding sides bowl 11 or 12 overs in 1 hour, and generally the game has slowed down enormously. And I'm told in years gone by, even though there were fast bowlers bowling, international sides did not have any great problem in bowling 18 to 20 overs an hour, whereas now one is struggling to bowl 11 or 12 overs an hour. I do feel, from a point of view of public support, this is a bad thing for cricket, that it's slowing down. After all, people pay a lot of money to come and see players in action, and if there is no action, isn't much point spending that time and effort and money. Do you subscribe to this? Do you find that the game has slowed down a lot over these years?
Definitely it has slowed down, because the number of overs being bowled in an hour is more or less than what those olden days bowlers used to do. Most probably, if they're taking their own time, they want to have fast bowlers, they always take plenty of rest before they start the ball. Therefore, every time in the bowl, those days we take about 2 minutes or 2.5 minutes per over, the fast bowlers. Nowadays, they take more than 3 or 4 minutes, maybe due to moving very slowly in the field, or maybe due to the bad bowling, hitting the ball hard and then coming back, start again the bowling. There may be some delay in that.
But don't you think the slowing down of the game will drive spectators away from watching this game?
Certainly it will. You want to have so much appreciation if the game is going to be slowed down because the number of overs bowled not as everybody expected. Naturally, people will get disgusted, because in a test match, you have a side bowling less number of overs rather than a stipulated over. Nobody will like it.
Particularly in Test cricket, I always feel that quite often we grumble that a batting side on the first day only made 200 or 220 runs, and yet if you see how many overs were bowled, then you can readily find the answer why the scoring for the day is so limited. If you don't bowl enough, obviously you're not going to get runs or wickets to the same extent.
Correct.
Gopal, now moving off from that, I would like your views on limited over cricket. This is a cricket that came into the picture after your time. You watched both Test cricket and this cricket. What is your view on limited over cricket?
Nowadays, limited over being encouraged rather than having 5 days. 5 days people think is more a waste of time. But anyone finds a place in any cricketing side must be able to play 5 days game to start with. Because if individual could play the test matches having 5 days, they built up their standard, then they can move to go to one day's game. But a one day's game, only certain people alone can play a forcible game. But in the 5 days games, an occasion will arise, even though so-called the slow batsmen have to force the pace. Therefore, you won't have much difficulty to force the pace as we do in the one day's match. But if you could select a team in an all-round side, must be able to cope up both 5 days as well as one day. Any man plays a hard wicket, a slow wicket, a fast bowling or slow bowling, must be able to adjust himself because he finds a place in All India to play the one day's game. He must have to adapt himself during the condition of the scoring.
Absolutely right. What you are saying is that even in 5-day cricket, the objects of one-day cricket is not lost, because it could be quite conceivable that on the last day, in about 10 overs, a
Yes.
side may have to make 80 runs.
Yes.
Even in 5-day cricket, it can happen.
We were happy. But
Playing
playing
to
5
suit-
days game, I mean, it gives a very good state for any cricketer. That's the experience and patience they'll have to build up.
In your own view, I mean, you have said that, I mean, both are really the needs of the occasion for each game. But how do you rate Test cricket in comparison with limited over cricket?
Naturally, the Test cricket, playing 5 days, naturally is a slow process than one day's game. People like it because they like to see the hard hitting. They enjoy themselves by seeing hard hitting and scoring 4s and 6s. In 5 days game, you'll have to play a very safe game. The man must build up. The man has got more patience, then he'll come through very well.
I think we've been long enough on cricket, and we have so far totally left out your other favorite game, hockey. And I think we ought to switch on to hockey for the benefit of, I'm sure, the hockey fans, because particularly you were a double international and you had equal interest in both hockey and cricket. So I would like to ask you a few questions on hockey at this stage. Can you tell us how and when you actually started learning to play hockey? Was this in school or at a later point?
When I was in school, I started learning hockey, playing hockey. We used to play hockey in the streets. We used to go to shops, firewood shops, to pick up a occasional stake which will resemble more or less a hockey stick. Whichever a stick comes nearly a hockey stick, we pay 2 annas or 3 annas or 4 annas. Get that stick, and those sticks we make use of it for playing hockey. The streets, we didn't have a proper, we will never get a proper ball to play with. We used to play anything like a ball shape. We used to play with that. Particularly wooden balls or toys, we remove the sharp edge of the toy and keep that ball like a ball and then play with that. We play in the streets, and slowly by playing one another, playing between street to street, we develop. In addition to that, the school used to have tournaments between one school and another school. And slowly by playing, even though may not be so good, and we learnt by playing more matches. Just like cricket, when I started my cricket career, And the same way I started my hockey career also.
At the same time, when you were still
Yeah.
in school.
Yes.
But you didn't find your interest in cricket and hockey clash at any time?
No, I don't, because it's quite different seasons. The hockey in quite different months, and then cricket in quite different months. Therefore, no chance for clashing one another.
And tell me, after your school days, were there in hockey in Madras similar clubs to cricket?
Yes, we had top-class hockey teams in Madras called MUC, Telegraph, Southern Railway, and Anglo-Indians and Medical College. And my first match was, I was playing a cricket against Wesley High School. I scored about more than 100 runs. One Mr. T.P. Keshavan, he approached me during the game and said that you required by Murugesh Modalia of Hindu, USS Sport writer, to play the first tournament at SIA, a final tournament. After the game finished, cricket, I went straight to SIA to play the game.
To play hockey, you mean?
To play the hockey. I was given, because I used to run fast, and Mr. late Murugesh Mudaliar of Hindu used to watch me every match I play. Having taken to that consideration, he has chosen me to play for OMA. That was the first occasion I played a hockey match. Played right extreme. I got only one ball to center. I centered and it was converted a goal. And we won the match by 1 goal. That was my hockey career to start with.
Were these clubs, was there a league as such like cricket leagues, or was it informal clubs that played matches against each other?
There was no league match as we are having now, but we had the State Hockey Association for which I was selected to play. I played as a halfback, one of the halfbacks then. We used to play only against every club. We didn't have such kind of league matches which they have got now.
But then, was there a state team in hockey?
Yes.
And how did they select the state team if there's no club hockey?
But by watching, they had, after forming a State Hockey Association, they had their selection committee. When we play one another, they used to see how individuals are playing, and they used to select side. And I think, I don't remember, then we had the league matches as we have got in cricket.
But there were no particular state matches. I mean, when you say state, I suppose those days it must have been the presidency match. Or
No. We had that particularly, mostly we used to play against Bangalore. Bangalore return match in Madras. And then once we go to Bangalore, other time they used to come to Madras. And we used to play in the national hockey tournament.
I see. This was against teams from other parts of
states.
in India. And I suppose the All India team got selected from out of the players playing in the national tournament. Can you tell us something, any interesting incidents in your early hockey career?
Yes, one match I was playing in MCC tournament against Telegraphs. Then the Telegraphs supposed to be a top class, leading side. And after the match, we won the MCC tournament. After the match, their secretary came down and said, "Boys, look at MJ, how fit he is, even after playing so many minutes. You chaps get so much, so quickly you become tired. Why don't you learn from MJ to keep fit?" You see, there was an occasion when I enjoyed myself about his remark. I took it coolly when he said about that.
Yes, it all comes back in sport to physical fitness, isn't it?
Particularly when you play hockey, particularly myself, I went on playing from right off to center off. It needs a lot of energy. Unless you are fit enough to play, you can't play. The whole hockey team rotates in center off.
But
Center off is a keen man to distribute the balls wherever he finds a vacant place. At random they can't do it, Very important, you have to go with the team, forward line, and come back and defend as a defender.
Yes, you had to supply to the forward line to
Very-
go and score goals, and yet you had to defend their forward line,
Correct.
not crossing over to your
Yes.
side.
Because I was so fast in moving the field, I was able to tackle them without any difficulty.
Gopal, in hockey, what are the countries you're toured outside India with the Indian team?
After selection, I found a place in all in that team. The first we assembled here, and then we went to Colombo. From Colombo, playing after a couple of matches, we went to straight to Australia by boat.
Oh, you went by boat from Colombo.
Yeah, it took us about 10 days. We were in the sea for 10 days. And during that period, we had all sorts of games on the boat deck. And we had the opportunity of seeing whales moving about a distance. Couple of whales going in the sea. And thousands of flying fish very close to our ship. It goes up about 10 to 15 feet high and then falls into the sea. We enjoyed the sea very day. Every day, 10 days of being in the sea means very annoying. Not only annoying, we found a little bit tired, Every day, getting up in the morning, you see water. You go to bed, next day you see water for 10 days.
Particularly for you, who was just, I suppose, waiting to run or waiting to go and play something, to be tied down to a ship's deck for so long.
No,
must
we
have
had
been
all the
difficult.
opportunities on the deck. I mean, we didn't find that one. We had a regular program on the boat. Therefore, nobody, because we had a good 11, therefore we didn't have the tediousness of traveling the sea. As a matter of fact, traveling the sea gives you a very good state. I mean, good traveling because you get very good food. And if in addition to that, if you got to have a good exercise, we played hockey and exercise and with the good food, we were feeling very fit then.
And where did you land in Australia first? And did you play there?
Yes, we played the first match there.
And then you moved on to...
We went round and then we played a couple of matches all over, and then we played in Australia, the headquarters of Canberra. That's the place we played, and then we moved to New Zealand. That New Zealand trip was very bad, though it was only 3 days journey. It was just like our Singapore ship, a small one, and the sea was so rough. When the sea is so rough, you can't enjoy the journey, as we had going in the ship from Colombo to Australia. We enjoyed ourselves.
And in New Zealand, where did you play?
All over. You see, we stayed about 4 to 5 months. We travel in a nice bus, air-conditioned bus, and when you go to a district, one office bearer will be in charge of us. Wherever we go, they give us a program for 3 or 4 days. We play 1 day's game and then move to other side. And that representative of that state will follow us and hand over us to the next state, so that he can continue further for our program. And after the match, very difficult to come back to a pavilion, because you see the autograph hunters, young, old, and also people coming and giving also things. Very difficult to move in the field once the match finishes. Everywhere we went, we enjoyed ourselves. And they didn't, we had, most of the time, we had that New Zealand had the Maoris, Maoris, yes, very good people, very hale and healthy, and we played many matches against them.
The sides you played against, they were club teams or local state teams?
In some places we played the local teams. Most of them we played at the state teams. And what happens, whenever we played, they had the selectors for New Zealand team to play test match. We played 3 test matches there during our period. And they used to watch us. As soon as the match finishes, he used to bring all those chaps into the dressing room, have a blackboard and have a directions, like training to them how the Indians play. They used to copy down. We found a lot of difference between the first match we played against them than the last match we played there. The first test match we played with the easy, As we went on the second and third, the third one was a very tough one. Even though we had a top-class people like Rup Singh and Dhyan Chand, Wills and God Jaffer,
which meant they watched the Indian team and learnt as each match was finishing, and they are playing better.
Very, very better. As he went on, they improved terribly, terribly. We found a lot of changes there. As a matter of fact, when we were playing one of the tests, and Rup Singh, nobody can beat Rup Singh's stick work. It was so nice to watch. And we were not able to score more than one goal before the off time. And once when we were playing there after off time, he shouted at Rup Singh, "Here, look, I mean, if you are going to repeat the same thing, I'll send you out." Very disciplinarian. Yeah. Though if you could see, as a matter of fact, when before I met Dhyanchand, I thought he must be a huge chap and well built and everything. I mean, so puny and short and about 5 feet. I mean, nobody can recognize such a his greatness. So unassuming, very simple, and you always avoid the crowd. You'll never like to give an autograph to anyone.
You said you played 3 test matches against New Zealand. What was the result? I mean, did we win all 3?
All 3 we won. All the matches we scored. And as a matter of fact, Dhyanchand scored more than 200 runs during 200 goals.
200 goals?
200 goals during the
that sounds more like cricket than hockey.
Yeah. And his brother scored nearly about 100.
Oh, his brother was also in the team?
Oh, yes. Oh, yes. Rup Singh. Without Rup Singh, Dhyanchand, the team is no good. The top class are nobody can beat them. And you can't get such kind of pair now in this present Indian team.
And what about Australia? Did you play test matches against Australia?
No.
That was purely
only
a practice
practice
game. And at that time, what was the general standard of hockey? Well, you played in New Zealand and Australia. What was the general standard in relation to the standard in India?
I mean, the general standard was very poor, to start with. And now they have developed so well because by copying down and watching us play, continuously they play against us, they have improved so much. Now we find it so hard to beat them. They try to beat us, we get beaten by those chaps.
Gopal, which means that in the last few decades, hockey, where we were absolutely reigning supreme, seems to have gone out of our hands. Well, what do you think is the reason for India to lose the supreme position in world hockey?
My reason being this one. We try to adopt their method of play. Their method, they are very fast in the field. We can't play a body game just like them, much faster than what we do. And whatever they do with the body at the speed or control, they got no control, hit and run. They are able to manage it. And we can't, if we are going to adopt such kind of style, I don't think we'll be able to face them. The only thing, what we had before, there must be good understanding between forward line and off back. Back passes and take it back and go in front. The other thing, we must retain our positions. The right extreme must be in the right extreme and left extreme must be in the left extreme. Right hander must be there and the left hander must be stick up their places. Very rarely they can change over. But nowadays we find the whole team is getting bunched up in the middle. The centre-half doesn't move with them and he doesn't find a place to pass the ball. And those days we had more push passes than anything. We'll never waste the time. We always gain it by pushing it and follow the ball. Nowadays what they do is take the ball, go about 10 or 15 feet and then give the ball to the opponent and then they let it come back. By doing so you exhaust your wind. You get yourself very much exhausted. Particularly when we play against a very heavy side, we'll have to reserve our energy for the second half. Those chaps, the foreigners have got so much of energy, they are able to go through, and which we are not able to do it. We exert ourselves in the first half itself. The second half, we always get beaten.
Gopal, are you suggesting that we are trying to follow their kind of game which is not suited to our players?
I entirely agree. I mean, I don't like their games to be followed by us because we are having 5-3-2-1 like that. They're having 4-4 like that. That means marking everyone. That means reducing one of the forwards. But I don't know the attitude of the selectors, hockey board. I don't know their idea to follow the foreigners' kind of play or adopt our old method.
So it in fact amounts to perhaps some problem in tactics more than the actual playing part of it.
Yeah, very, very good. The understanding those days was so good, and the passing was very nice. Give a push, give a quick passes without wasting your time. Nowadays, even the right-hander hitting the ball to the center very hard. And if I'm asked to play nowadays, the rules are so much changed, and the sticks, control. Anybody can easily hurt or he can be killed by the way in which they play a very hard game. But one thing, those days we used to play on a turf. Playing on an artificial turf is quite different. The artificial turf is very fast. Unless you are very fast, you can't manage yourself on the ground. That is why the foreigners are very fast, they are able to do it very well. That's the difference. There is a lot of difference between that ground and surface and the present surface. The ball, there is no chance of even an inch bounce in there. It will go very fast. Unless you are a speedy chap, and you can't do it.
What you're really saying is that they have learnt a lot out of our game and improved on it, but whereas we have tried to follow theirs and we have not suited to do that kind of thing.
I entirely agree in that. I always think like that. I don't know about the selectors of the Indian Hockey Federation or the top levels of the Indian Federation, Hockey Federation. But they have learnt a lot, and many of our people, mostly the Anglo-Indians, have gone abroad and tried to coach them.
Yes, it seems such a shame that India was considered the world's top in hockey and we have faded out in a few decades.
Gopi, just like cricket, at the start with, we were not so good as the foreigners, We learnt many things and now we beat them. Therefore, we have learnt everything from them, and then any foreigners, they find it difficult to play against us. The same way, now we find it difficult to play against the foreigners in hockey.
So they have learned from us.
They have learned from us, they put it into practice. But they're very good, they're very sincere, very hard work.
Well, it comes back again to the same thing you said before. Their physical fitness perhaps
Physical
is
fitness is much more important than anything, particularly in hockey. Particularly when you play on an artificial turf, unless very, very fast. And you see that the energy can be easily saved if you give a good pass. What I'm telling you, give a pass and take it back. So that instead of going with the ball, particularly in a hard, fast surface, and giving the ball to the opponent and come back means you get yourself exhausted. That's my honest opinion. It's up to selectors to think about that.
And of course, one last question: hockey. Did you ever regret missing the Berlin Olympics when you were selected and you did not go?
As I already told you, I didn't regret about that, but I had to take it because of my boss, Otherwise, I would have gone with the hockey team.
And you'd have come back with a gold medal?
Yes. One thing, Gopi, during New Zealand tour, I was playing right off as well as centre-off. Nothing like playing centre-off for Dhyanchan. Because the passes used to give, back passes used to give in such a way that any offenders or any defenders or opponents, they can't face it. We give it in so quickly, we take it, the Dhyanchan used to take it back. And the whole defense will get rattled. They don't know where to go and tackle. And it will create a very big gap so that our forward line can easily proceed. Nowadays we don't see any single back pass. They hit very hard. And even the chap is very close, and if he's not marked, and his tendency not to get to that man and ask him to take it. He doesn't do it. He hit very hard.
Instead of just pushing?
Pushing. Push and then take it. Wherever you find the gap, you push and then take it. But at the same time, wherever you got the gap, you push means unless you find a man, unless we find our own man, you can't waste your ball.
Well, Gopal, thank you. And I thought, to wind this up, I would ask you a few questions more, not so much on the games in cricket, but more on what you did. You worked in Burma Shell for 35 years. What exactly did you do in Burma Shell? The job you did was it in marketing or operational? Or what did you do in Burma Shell?
I started my career in Burma Shell as a clerk. I was there for a clerk till 1936, till I came from England. As soon as I came from England, I was given a promotion to go and work in the insulation as a supervisor. I was there for a long time, 6 or 7 years, and then I was dealing in a kerosene department, dealing with about 300 workers. My work was very tedious, very strenuous one. Kerosene and petrol and everything.
This was in the installation?
Installation. And then, after installation, 1952, I moved to head office. That is Bomashal. The reason being was our oil depots are all situated in railway land. Anything we do, any construction or any laying a pipeline or anything, they let us the railway permission before we take up the work. We'll have to apply for it, and we'll have to send a plan according, whatever you want to put a structure there, it should be approved by them. And there may not be any answer from railways, and any number of reminders may not get a good result. They thought they could have a liaison on that subject, can easily move. Because I know everyone in railway from bottom to top. They took that opportunity by giving me more or less a liaison work. I used to approach the railway officers, get things quickly, without any difficulty. There may be a lot of pending orders from railway side. Any number of reminders, what the return reply we will get is, reference your letter dated so-and-so, so-and-so is being looked at. Any number of reminders you send, you get the same reply. All right, we await remarks from so-and-so, so-and-so, which you will never get it at all. I used to go and see him in person because I know everyone there. The clerks as well as the officers used to help me very well in every respect. On the day I go and see them, that day itself I used to finish the work, come back to office.
No doubt, because the chaps in the railway were all watching you play cricket or hockey.
No, I played with them. Not only watching, I played with them. That's much more important. The top levels, mostly they played with them. There won't be any difficulty in getting things through. And they liked it. They had a full advantage of the influence then I had. I worked there as a more or less man till 64.
And when did you move to head office?
Till 52.
And what did you do in the head office when you came back?
That is the main thing I was taking up. The engineering work, I joined in engineering work. In the insulation I was supervising the filling, dispatches and everything. And then came back to head office where I was attached to the engineering department in connection with lease of lands and everything.
And your working career was over a period of about 35 years.
Yes.
Which is a fairly long career along with your other scholastic, your sporting activities.
My retirement, people thought that I must be working somewhere, which I don't do. I have not taken up any job, and I'm just carrying on with my pension. And it was very nice of TNCA, great Chidambaram president and Shiraman, when they heard about my hard living, and they made some arrangement and started getting some fund, They made and hand over to me a decent amount, from which whatever the interest I get, carry on in addition to my pension. Those days pension is not so good as to maintain the present days. The present days are so hard, People might think that I got more money and I got my own house. But still, from the time I started my life in a rented house, I'm carrying on the same manner. I don't make any difference at all.
It was very interesting. Gopal, did you train any of your relations, nephews or anybody to play cricket or hockey or anything like that? Did any of them take up after you?
No, none. Though they started playing a little cricket, only cricket, but evidently they didn't have the taste or the liking to continue. Therefore, I had no occasion to train them.
Tell me, Gopal, leaving aside your cricket and hockey and work, have you had any hobbies in your life? Or do you have any hobbies now?
I do. Early morning get up and, I used to water all the plants and trees and everything. That's the only hobby I had. And then evening time or morning time, I used to look after grandchildren, and then till they go to schools, I'll see that they're given a good dress and everything. Then you know that you usually go for lunch and then take rest. In the evening time, when I was so active, and I used to go to regularly go to a music club or the TNC. Whenever you got a function, I go to Tamil Nadu Cricket Association.
So, which means once you retired, how did you spend your time? How do you spend your time now?
I tell you, I didn't make any difference between my service time or now the present time, because even during my service time, the last 10, 15 years, I was moving about. The same way, even now, I move about to see my friends and go to my relative places. And every day the same thing is happening. And if you get any function to attend, I go and attend. And if I'm asked to preside anything, any clubs, and then I can go into that. I don't make any difference. So but I'm not the man, once you retire, to stick to your own house and you don't go about. And there's a possibility of their health may go deteriorated, That's much more.
Which is, again, like what you have always been in your life, you are leading an active life.
Even now.
Talking of finance, how would you compare the financial benefits of the present-day cricketer in comparison with your days?
Gopi, you must know by yourself, very surprising to hear from me that when you went to England in the year 1936, we were given 1,000 rupees before we left India, and when we came back, we got another 1,000 rupees. That was the only benefits we had. We didn't have so much of facilities as the present cricketers get. The present cricketers, they're very lucky. If they could represent India for a couple of years, they can easily become good money earners, which we don't feel sorry, because the conditions in the board are so like to encourage the cricketers. Therefore, there's a lot of difference between our facilities we had then, the facilities the boys get it.
Now, finally, Gopal, I would like to ask you, for the benefit of the younger generation, the future cricketers and hockey players of India, what would be your advice to them to achieve the level of game you achieved and play for India?
Most important thing to a sportsman is to keep our body in a good condition. Regular habits, take instructions given by elderly people in a particular game. See good people playing and put them into practice. If you are not doing well, don't accept to play any representative matches, either for the state or for India. When you are playing, play your best. Think for a moment that you are playing for a state in India.
Basically, you feel physical fitness is the most important thing.
Yes,
not only for your own sake, but for your side's sake.
Your side's sake, and particularly you must take the decisions given by the umpire without hesitating. Take it in a good manner. Don't expose your decisions or something like that. The olden days, if the batsman could find that he has touched the ball, the wicket-keeper has held it, before the appeal was made or before the umpire gives out, automatically the batsman will come out. There is no chance for finding fault with the umpire. I want everyone, the cricketers, to take the decisions of the umpire in a correct manner. Obey. Everyone must know the rules of the cricketing.
I think that's very important. As I say, I didn't intend to really ask you any question on the umpiring, but since you have raised it, I think it is very important. And how would you look at the clamour you often hear these days? Everybody says that we must have neutral umpires. What is your thinking on that?
There's a possibility of even the neutral umpires also possibility of committing errors. It is a very great and important affair. In a crowd of 60 to 70,000, and if an appeal is made for a catch, you can't hear because of the sound made by 60 to 70 chaps. Particularly the umpire facing the wind may be able to give a decision because you'll be able to hear any click noise goes from the bat. But a man facing, standing, showing the back, at the wind, he may not be able to hear because the sound won't be carried towards him, it will go beyond the other side. Therefore, that particular thing, the umpires will have to watch the direction of the ball, the movement of the ball. Therefore, it's very difficult to say find fault to the umpires. Nowadays, we got the TV by slow motion and anything. And even the umpires could, a bad decision, we can easily think about good or bad. But umpires also, they are very good. They'll do a very good umpiring because of these things at the moment. They won't give a room for any criticism.
Do you think, as they do in racing, we would come to a stage where a decision of the umpire would be made after perhaps seeing a replay on the television screen? And while, you know how in racing you have the photo finishes and you wait for the photos to come out and then decide who was the winner. Similarly, if the umpire has a doubt, do you think the day will come when he would cross-check with the television or another umpire sitting in the pavilion who can have a look at the television, have a slow motion, and then indicate whether a man is out or otherwise?
Okay, it's a very difficult problem to answer you, because the umpires, to give a decision by the other one than by himself may not like it. Some people, that is why people may not come forward to umpire if the decision is going to be made by TV or something like that.
Yes, this is a burning question, because as years go by, there are lots of accusations about umpires and umpires who are siding their home teams and so on and so forth. But I've always believed that umpires do make mistakes, but they are only mistakes. They are not deliberate attempts to try and influence the game in one direction or the other. And as you said earlier, even if you have neutral umpires, they are also human beings, and they are also likely to make the same kind of mistakes.
Therefore, you can't find fault with the umpires then.
Gopal, thank you very much. Thank you for the time you have spent. I mean, we spent a few hours on this interview, and I think anyone listening to this will certainly get a very clear picture of your life and your achievements. And I think I must say that we in Madras are all proud of you and proud of what you have done, not so much for yourself, but you've done for the state, particularly in cricket, where I've personally been involved. I have thoroughly enjoyed playing with you and associating. Thank you very much for spending all this time with us.
Thank you, Gopi.